In Manipur, the new year has been just like the old one. I'm Barkha, you're with the Mojo story. We begin 2024 with our focus returning to the northeastern state where curfew is back in 5 districts. This after two different episodes of violence in the last 48 hours, one in which the Meitei Pangal community was targeted, those are Manipuri Muslims, and then locals burned the vehicles of the gunmen. The gunmen were using uniforms as camouflage. The other episode has taken place in the last few hours. We have seen the border town of Moreh become the epicenter of what the chief minister has called a militant attack. He has, in fact, gone on record to suggest that there could be a Myanmar link, a foreign hand in these attacks. However, Kukis civilian groups in the area are claiming that a disproportionate amount of force has been used and that civilians, they allege, are being picked up at random. However, as the chief minister visited hospitals in the border town, we do have confirmation that four policemen and a BSF Jawan have also been injured. Like always, there are varying narratives coming forth as to who is responsible. Why is this violence taking place more than 7 months after the first round of violence erupted in Manipur? Remember, it has taken those many months for the dead to come home for many, many families after the Supreme Court intervened and said that a mass burial should be allowed. Manipur continues in many ways to burn, not like it was burning earlier, not daily rounds of violence, but phases of, let's say, a lull that is broken by an upsurge of violence. In fact, the Meitei Pangal community, the Manipuri Muslims, have not been targeted in this manner before. This time, the targeted sort of attack in areas dominated by their community raises all kinds of questions as to what is actually going down in a state where many different narratives are now mixed up. What used to be described as a clash between two communities now has the mix of militant attacks. There are still hundreds, if not thousands, of weapons in civilian control. Kuki groups are blaming the Meitei militant group, the armed group, the Arambai Tengol. Meitei groups are blaming what they call Kuki militants. And so, in this blame game, the people, the ordinary people who do not have a gun, continue to suffer. And Manipur tragically has fallen off the pages, the front page of a newspaper and the primetime shows of our channels. But not here at the Mojo Story, where our commitment to covering this story continues. Let's introduce our guests on the program today as we look at what's going down in Manipur and why and how can it stop. Joining us on the program today, first up, is Mohammed Ahmed Rais Ahmed Tampak. He's a spokesperson for the Meitei Pangal community. It's an umbrella group of different organizations that represent the Manipuri Muslims who have actually tried their best to stay out of this conflict. In fact, when I was on the ground in Manipur, the only way you could travel from the valley to the hills was if you had someone from who's from the Muslim community as your driver, and they were not being targeted. Has something changed? We'll find out. Also joining us is a military veteran. We're joined by Dr. Major Muhammad Ali Shah. He's been a former ADC to the General Officer Commanding. Always good to see you, sir. Also joining us today is Professor Haukip. We welcome him back to the program. He's an assistant professor at JNU. And we very much hope Brigadier Ganguly, who's been a commandant at the Assam Rifles, will be able to join us as well. I want to just play for you the most recent sounds of violence. This from Moreh, where a gunfight has taken place even today. Till a few hours ago, you can hear the sounds of gunshots ringing in the air. Take a look, and then I'll play what the chief minister said in a moment after that. The chief minister went to Moreh went to the hospital, and he says there's a foreign hand linked to what happened. Listen in.
Where government, where with the central forces and the state forces, we are countering them, and now search operation and the bombing operation is widely going on. Reinforcement has been sent, and we are having some doubt of involvement of foreign mercenary from the Myanmar side, and it is our commitment to the people of the state and the people of the India. We will not succumb to this kind of threat and pressure. We will take the necessary possible measures to counter such terrorist activities.
Okay, let's get straight into our conversation. I want to start actually with Rais Ahmed Tempak, because the first episode of violence that took place on the weekend actually seemed to target members of your community, or at least areas that are dominated by members of your community. And the violence may be much worse than we know the casualty figure, because there are several who have been critically injured as well. What is happening? Why has an area that is dominated by Manipuri Muslims been targeted in this way, according to you, Ahmed?
Thank you so much for having me, Barkha, first of all. And uh, the issue which you mentioned right now is really horrified for all of us, especially with Mitai Pangal community in Manipur. Yesterday, we all, India and all over the world, celebrated New Year, but unfortunately in Manipur, that is not happening. However, at the night at around 7 p.m., one person called Hassan, that is located, that Lilong is one of the largest Mitai Pangal population in the state. That is under the Tengnoupal district and under the Lilong police station, where some armed miscreant, but today they clarified, they released just before joining to your this discussion. They released a PR press release on that particular situation. That is the responsible militant group is RPF, and the person who mentioned that visited, or they came to that residence is involved in war on drugs, or drugs mafias and other things, and that's why they warned before, but unfortunately they are not able to take them in their custody. That's why they came last night to pick
But
him.
why do you think, and I've just got hold of the Revolutionary People's Front press release that you mentioned being responsible for the attack on members of your community or neighborhoods dominated by your community. I want to be careful with my words. Why do you think that your area, or an area where your community lives, has been targeted? Why? You have stayed out.
That is the main. Yeah. Yes. We do definitely agree. There would be some drug dealers, drug peddlers, or some smugglers. We do not deny on that particular area. However, the act which was really happened last night is really unfortunate. The four-person killed was really innocent, and they are daily wage laborers, and two of them came back from some work for their day off, and unfortunately they died because of their gunfire. So if they are really responsible group, if they are really responsible person, or they are really concerned about the mission when it comes to drug, then we have UMPC, United Mitai Pangal Committee Manipur. I myself is speaking on behalf of entire Mitai Pangal, and the other local leaders, elected members. They can really inform the person and ask them to like hand over the person or whomsoever is involved. But unfortunately, that is not happening. They forcefully enter the house and ransack like anything and kill the person very mercilessly, heartlessly. That is a really concern for all of us.
Right. So you're
And
saying,
so far, we have four of them are killed, and 14 is confirmed. And
so four.
fortunately, last night it was
Hang on, sir. I'm
yeah,
trying to ask a question. So four people in your
yeah,
community have been killed, and 14 have been
yes,
injured, several of them critically, so that casualty figure could go up. And
yes,
basically you're saying that many of those who've been killed are laborers, are poor people, and you do not know why they've been targeted. Can we please play the picture so that we see the kind of tension in the Lilong area? Requesting my producers to please play those pictures. And then, of course, in retaliation, members of the community hit back at the gunmen and burnt their vehicles. Now, Major Ali, what is really worrying is that these gunmen, these men who came with guns, they were camouflaging themselves with police uniforms, right? So go ahead and tell us not just about what's happened with the Pangal community, Methi Pangal community, but also what's happened in Moreh today. Dr. Ali.
Okay, Barkha, firstly, thank you very much for inviting me on your show. You're one of my favorites, and you know that very well. It's an honor to be here with the panel of such esteemed guests. And as you mentioned about my former commandant from the Assam Rifles, Brigadier Kautam Ganguly. I hope his internet connection
Yes.
comes up very soon, and I hope he does join us. Now, the very fact is, Barkha, the army and the Assam Rifles, the security forces are actually doing a very impartial and a very good job. I would particularly vouch for the army and the Assam Rifles. Now, the very fact, because the vigil is so sharp, so people over there, the troublemakers, the insurgents, the I would call even people who are not part of the underground factions who have picked up arms right now today, even they are insurgents. So these insurgents have no other way to break into the security but to disguise themselves up in the security forces uniforms, police uniforms. I'm told they were using police vehicles as well, some of them, not here, but other cases they have been roaming around and some of them apparently have been roaming around freely. I'm surprised because they camouflage themselves, they hide themselves behind the uniforms where you are mistaken. People had even tried to get Assam Rifles vehicles. Can you beat that? But they were caught. So that is an option left for them. I will equate it with an example where a lot of terrorists from Pakistan are unable to infiltrate, so they're using narco terrorism. They drop in weapons and drugs across. Similarly, the insurgents in Manipur, now they've adopted those methods because it's very difficult to check exactly. Not very difficult, but it is actually you assume a person. If I have to be victimized, if I see somebody walking in police uniform, I will probably presume he's a protector, not come to attack me. So that's what's happening now. Now the very fact is a communal clash, or rather I would say an ethnic clash. Rather, the word is ethnic clash, not a communal clash, but an ethnic clash is not very. It happened in past in Manipur, all right, but not of this severity. In '93, there was a very infamous Maite Pangal clash. That's the Maite Hindus. Even Pangals are the Maite Muslims, so they are also that's a, they're Pangals. They was in '93 that happened. '94 there was a very infamous Naga and Kukis clash. In '97 there was the Kukis clash. In fact, Manipur has seen a Pangal chief minister as well. In 1972 there was Muhammad Ali Muddin as the chief minister. Manipur has very gracefully accepted that. Now the very fact, you see, Moreh is a belt which is predominated by Kukis. And particularly, I have a lot of Thadao speaking Kukis. They would be having surnames like Hawkins, Kipgins, or Khongsais. So Moreh is particularly dominated by Kukis. And it's very close to Tengnoupal, and it's on the border of where across the border in the Moreh, there's Tamu. In
Okay.
that side.
Can,
Yes.
can I just interrupt you to say that I think we must separate these two incidents, right? One is an incident that has taken place in a border town where there is a foreign link being alleged by the chief minister. The other is an incident that is basically taking place within the communities, in a community that has not been targeted thus far, Major Ali. So I don't know that we can talk about these incidents together.
Of course not. You cannot talk about these two incidents together. But since you had asked initially about Moreh, along with your
Yes.
first question, that's why I brought in Moreh over here. Now, the very fact is, when we talk about there was an attack on the Pangal community, let me tell you, let me see how I see it as. I see it as not an attack only on Pangal community. I don't know how the Pangal community would be seeing it as. I mean, in fact, the spokesperson over here, Rais Ahmed Bhai, would be in a better position to tell. I see it as an incident where, yes, no doubt, the members who were attacked happened to be from the Pangal community, and yes, unfortunately, we lost four of them, and as Rais Bhai said, 14 have been grievously injured. So it could, and if at all there is an allegation of drugs or narcotics, I don't know the intricacies of that, because as per the UN records, Manipur gets about 70,000 crores is only on narcotics, which is much more than the GDP of Manipur, in fact. So I don't know about the drug angle of it. Even if it is for the drug angle, I do not think anybody who should have the right to take law in their hands and say, okay, you are the drugs, let me come and kill you and shoot you. No, the law
Absolutely.
has to take its own course. The law
Yeah.
decides that. So
Yeah.
similarly, now I say it is, I really urge my brethren in Manipur not to make it so far what I had heard of the Chief of Defence Staff, General Anil Chauhan, and the DG Assam Rifles, Lieutenant Pradeep Nair, speak about that. It's an ethnic clash, it's an ethnic problem that's going on in Manipur. So I would urge people not to make it, I know it is very, very tough, easier said than done, but not to make it communal. I mean, not to make it Hindus versus Christians or Hindus versus Muslims. It is a nefarious group which has gone. I would say it's gone bonkers. Right? I would use the word that way, and they have gone and attacked these
Okay.
people.
Okay, let me
Yes.
bring in Professor Haukip and then we'll come back to Rais Ahmed Bhai. Professor Haukip, how do you see what's happening? I mean, we also have to put this into context to say that it has now been we're in the eighth month. It's been more than 7 months. I'm not saying that every day there is violence, but there are, phases of tenuous peace. And then you have outbursts of what we've seen in the last 2 days. As I said, the new year is very much like the old year for people of Manipur. How do you, and even Rais Ahmed opened with that all of India had a new year but Manipur. Go ahead, Professor Hauke.
Yeah, I would take this, two issues, two incidents today, one in Moreh and another in, yesterday in Imphal, together, because it has to be looked together, because, in Imphal, the Manipur police is unable to handle a certain situation. On the other hand, if you look into Moreh, the state police is stretching out its arms to control the border town. So taking these two together, on the one hand, you are unable to control, the radical groups in Imphal, including the insurgent groups in the Imphal Valley, while in Moreh, where it was assured that the central forces would take care of this border town, you still try to assert your dominance there. This is the issue on today as well as yesterday. So let me remind everybody by looking back into the peak of Manipur violence on 26 June 2023. After meeting with Amit Shah, the Home Minister of India, uh, Biren Singh had a press conference stating that the center will take care of the hills while he will be responsible for the valley. So the law and order situation in Imphal Valley has to be controlled by the state forces, while the central paramilitary forces and other forces will control the hill areas. That was the agreed principle on which law and order has to be maintained in Manipur. But on the other hand, if you look into the current situation, the state government, the state forces are trying to, control the border town Moreh. On the other hand, they are unable to do anything to the insurgent groups and as well as the radical groups like Arambai Tinggol and Mitelipun, who are carrying the RPGs, automatic rifles,
Yeah.
roaming around in tens of cars and other vehicles all around Imphal Valley. So what we take as a position is that in order to maintain peace in Manipur, that valley people should not cross the buffer zone and roam around in the hills. and even the hill peoples, especially the
Okay.
Kukis,
So you are
should not
saying, so
go
you are
into the
you
valley area.
so you are so you are saying that there should have been more law and order control, at least in the valley, where this attack has taken place on the Meitei Pangal
De-
community. Yes, I want to bring up.
Definitely.
I want to bring up Arambai Tengol. The name is coming up again and again by the cookie groups, Major Ali. The Arambai Tengol was blamed. The tribal groups are blaming the Arambai Tengol both for what has happened with the Meitei Pangal attack as well as for what happened in Moreh. But the chief minister is saying that this is a militant attack with a link across the border, possibly in Myanmar. Right? These are two completely different narratives, Major Ali. What is the Arambai Tengol? A lot of people outside of Manipur don't know. And why are we hearing its name? Also, Rais Ahmed says that while the Arambai Tengol was being blamed, the RPF now has issued a statement claiming responsibility for what happened in his community. So, talk a bit about both of these groups.
Okay, Megha, that's a very, very interesting question. The very fact is, Arambai Tengol and Mighty Lipun, as far as my knowledge goes, they were social groups they were social bodies. That's what I know of. And now
Would you
the
still
very
would you
fact is,
still call
you are
them
right.
would you still call them that? Today,
No,
everybody in Manipur has
correct,
guns.
correct. So I am
Both
just coming to that.
communities. Right.
Their name has been cropping up again and again, especially by my cookie friends, and so there's no smoke without fire. So this is a thing which is to be actually inquired and actually proved, and it has to be proved in a very impartial manner without taking any sides, without taking anyone. So now I was saying, the very fact is, if you ask me if I would still call them social groups, well, as you say, even a thief is not a thief until proven guilty, for that matter. So it is a matter subject to inquiry in the first place. Secondly, when you talk about underground groups or factions, in my time when I was posted there with the army as the ADC or with the Assam Rifles both, so I had the good fortune of experiencing both the life. So the underground groups were primarily the one which has signed a truce right now, the UNLF, United Nations Liberation Front, the PLA, People Liberation Army, the KYKL, Kangla Yaman Kanaluk, the PREPAC. There was a group dominated by the Pangals called Pulse, People's United Liberation Front. And I'm in Kakshan, where I spent a lot of time, in fact, in Thobal, where the attack took place. There's a Sorabasti, which Rais Bhai would be knowing very well about. I have spent a lot of time in Sorabasti, but it was a very small group of, I would call them rather, local bandits at that time. So I don't know what became of that group thereafter. I don't know. It became very irrelevant, or perhaps after that. So the very fact is, Arambai Tengol and Mighty Lipun were not a banned outfit. As far as I know, till now, they have not been banned. So if they have not been banned, the law authorities, the government has to actually see and inquire why their names have been coming up again and again.
Okay, and what about this RPF? I want to bring in Rais Ahmed at this point. Rais Ahmed, I am looking at the press release, but unfortunately, it is not in English, so I am not able to understand what it's saying. I'm sure you have it in front of you. I do have it on my phone here, but it's been released interestingly by the ITLF, by the tribal groups, saying that the RPF has claimed responsibility for what has happened in the areas dominated by your community. Can you share with us what is this RPF for audiences who do not know, and why they might be targeting members of your community?
Barkha, before I intervene your question, first I need to clarify, yesterday's incident can be considered as communal violence, because Major Ali
Can or can't? Can or can't?
can't cannot
Be.
be considered cannot be considered as communal violence, because maximum, I think, almost all the CSOs, MLAs, even the Honorable Chief Minister of Manipur came out and at least release a video to calm down the situation. And even just I think a few minutes back, Honorable Chief Minister visited the victim's family and also the hospital.
Images
Yeah.
are on our screen. Yes, yes.
No, this is the hospital images, but he actually visited along with the local MLA, Honorable Alhaz Abdul Nasir, that local Lilong MLA, and along with his cabinet ministers and colleagues, visited the victim families. So that shows like that is not a completely a violence, what to say, uh, uh,
No, it's
incident.
not coming out.
That was,
It's not
yeah.
it is violence. There are,
We,
but it is
yeah.
not communal. It is not spurred by
It,
religion.
it, it is not a communal
Yes,
violence. Yeah, it
yes,
is a
yes.
kind of like
So what is
targeted.
the
Okay,
so what is the
as far,
reason? What is the
yeah,
reason that your community that has
okay, as
managed
far
to stay
as
out?
the RPF, yeah, as
Yes.
far as the RPF, Revolutionary People's Front, that is, I can say, the political wing of PLA, I can say, and they are like releasing the based on their our local language. They are saying like the person called Hassan is involved in drug peddler, drug dealer since
Right.
long time, and they gave several times of warning and not able to nab in their hand. So they forcefully came and try to like grab the situation, but unfortunately like local peoples came together and they try to forcefully and try like their vehicles burned down. That's why they try to escape from the situation. They gunfire and they really they also like kind of like saying they're really sorry about the incident. And the second
But
thing,
can I
they,
ask you something?
the second thing,
Hold on. I'm getting confused. It's not religious. It's not communal. You have not been, your community, your people, your neighborhoods have not been targeted because of their religion. I understand that. You are saying that you think there's a drug link of some kind. What are you saying?
okay. As far as today, we had a very brief and very detailed discussion, and we form a joint action committee against the mass killing and brutal act of Lilong Chajing, Qingzhou, that we have discussed about, and we have briefed, and we got to know that their family is like rejecting all claims of drug dealers and drug peddlers, like linking with drugs, that is completely denying by the family of MD Hassan, number one. Number two, and the neighbors which really victim because of that incident last night is really unfortunate, and the RPF that itself, that PR itself is saying they will investigate the matter in details and let you know later, kind of like press release. So I think, I hope your question is answered.
Somewhat, because what I agree, and I want to bring in Professor Haukip into this, even when the violence started, even though the Maitis were mostly Hindu and the Kukis were mostly Christian, I don't think either community saw this as a communal clash. There were many other clash. There was a court order. It was about a certain legal status. It was an ethnic clash, but it was not a communal clash. And I think the same point is being made by Rais Ahmed Tampak about what has happened in Lilong, where his community dominates. But how do you see this? We keep forgetting it's been more than 7 months. The chief minister right now is front facing. In a way, he was criticized for not being 7 months ago. Professor Haukip, you're here in Delhi. What is the news you're getting from your people in Manipur?
You know, I can't totally deny that there is a communal angle in this ethnic class also, because why do more than 200-300 churches were deliberately burned, during the initial days of this violence? So that has to be looked into. Why are you against churches, which has nothing to do with ethnicity? So that is the question that keeps on lingering. But apart from that, I also wanted to take away from Mr. Ahmed kind of analysis that despite being those four people who were murdered yesterday, being denied by the community that they are drug peddlers or sellers, and on the other hand, the RPF, which is a political organization of the PLA, claims that they have been given a punishment based on their involvement. So what we can take away from this is that the state government is unable to control the law and order situation in the valley.
But
That the
Professor
insurgent groups
Hawkeye,
are
I
roaming
want to show
around,
you.
and you
Sorry,
have the radical groups who are loitering with guns and RPGs. And we have never looked into the law and order
but
situation
when you look,
from
but Professor
security
Hawkeye,
point of
but
yes,
Professor Hauke, when we look at what's happening in Moreh today, a Kuki leader released these images. He alleged that women and children have been targeted in a disproportionate way. But he also acknowledged that the gunfight involved firing at state forces. Right? The Kuki tribal leaders are accepting that in this exchange of fire, state forces, i.e., the state police, have been fired on. And we now know that state police men have been injured, four of them. A BSF Jawan has also been injured. So, how do we make sense of these competing narratives,
yes,
Professor Hauke?
but now we have to look at this way. When the violence started on 3rd May and on 4th May, if you look into some of even the evidence on videos, you would see that the state police had been involved in this kind of violence. There are a lot of evidences. So the Kuki people find that the state forces are perpetrators of this kind of violence, and they don't trust. So there's no absolutely no trust on the state police forces. So they always requested that the central forces should be stationed in the buffer zone or in Moreh or anywhere else. So their demand is that let the commandos who had been recently forcefully placed in Moreh should be taken away to Imphal Valley, and the
Hmm.
central security forces would take over. And despite that, there is a kind of informal agreement that whenever the commandos or the police forces patrol around Moreh, it should be accompanied by central forces. But on the 1st of January or previous to that, there are instances where the state forces are doing the patrolling by themselves, breaking those kind of
But why?
informal
But why would the
community
people
leaders and
fire at them? Okay, so here is the point, Dr. Ali. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but we have a situation here where Professor Haukip says that the state forces were not accompanied by the central forces. The state forces say our men have been injured. The civilian groups, can we play those pictures again? The civilian groups release these images, the tribal civilian groups, and they say women and children are being targeted, our people are being picked up, we are being fired upon. The government says no, these are actually foreign militant linked attacks. And then we have this statement, this RPF statement. I'm just trying to pull this up, which is taking responsibility for the incident at Lilong. What has happened with the Manipuri Muslims? What has happened with areas dominated by them? Can you talk a little bit about this RPF? And in the meantime, we also have statements from the Kuki group saying that these are attacks by state forces and mighty militant groups. So the Kuki groups are accusing the mighty militant groups of acting in tandem with the state police. Kuki leaders are saying यहाँ पे central forces होने चाहिए थे, यहाँ पे state forces आए. Chief Minister is saying these are foreign linked groups. And then we have the RPF, the political wing of one of the state's most powerful armed rebel groups, the PLA, formed in 1978 to liberate, quote unquote, Manipur, which clearly is a secessionist group. So we are seeing secessionism mixed up with ethnic strife. It's a really dangerous cocktail, Dr. Ali.
Right, Mega.
Barkha,
Barkha.
not Megha,
Sorry,
same family
sorry,
of
Barkha. I'm so
clouds
sorry.
to rain, so not a far not too much of a disassociation, but go ahead. Yeah,
Okay, Barkha. I'm so sorry. I mean, just slipped my tongue because.
no
So now
problem.
then,
No problem.
thank you. So the very fact is, you know, whether it was a foreign hand or not, that the inquiry will tell, of course. And whatever it is, the reason is it is the responsibility of the government of the day over there to take care of its citizens, whether a foreign hand comes in or it's a local hand over there.
Right.
Now, you have to protect them. And I'm talking about the state government over there. They have to protect all the communities, all the tribes, all the people. One cannot wait for an incident to happen and then say, अरे हमें नहीं पता ये बाहर से आए हैं, आए कहीं से भी हो. The very fact, of course, it's a fact that, right from the very beginning, the Kukis have lost faith in they've lost confidence in the state police force because of the arms loot, the famous arms loot that took place over there. In fact, very, very sad. Now, that's why they would have more faith and trust in the central forces like the army.
And the
Of course,
reverse is true, right? Unfortunately, mighty groups targeted the Assam Rifles.
right.
Kuki groups don't trust the police forces. Mighty community doesn't trust the Assam Rifles.
Why mighty groups does not trust the Assam Rifles is what in my perception, because I feel that,
Tragically, I mean, I'm just saying it's tragic, and the army played a big role in trying to transcend these differences and work for both communities.
you're right. See, the Assam Rifles has done a very, very good job, actually, commendable job. I can vouch with conviction over there. In fact, this is the Assam Rifles tie that I'm wearing. And the Assam Rifles they had protected any victim, anyone who would be victimized without asking, whichever caste, creed, religion, tribe, area, region you are from, they would protect them. They would give them aid. And yes, it's a fact that there were a lot of Kuki who were victimized, who the Assam Rifles had protected, not because they are Kukis, no, but because they were victimized. If unfortunately anyone, it could have been a Mr. It could have been a Mighty also. If they would have been victimized, Assam Rifles would have gone out of the way to protect them as well.
Okay, now what happens when there are such differences in the narrative of what's being put forward? I want to take final comments now. I'll start with you, Professor Hauke. What can happen now? It's been 8 months. The people also must be tired. We're seeing the tribal groups calling. All right. We are seeing the tribal groups also condemning what has happened. They're claiming one thing. The mighty groups are claiming one thing. The chief minister is claiming a militant link. What happens next? Go ahead, Professor Hauke.
Yes, Barkha, the cookies will never, talk about peace unless they have their political settlement. So, political settlement, whatever big, whatever small it would be, which is, minimally acceptable to them, should be put forward to them so as to initiate peace. So, the central government and the state governments should also listen to the grievances of the cookies right now. Otherwise, any kind of peace talks will not be acceptable to the cookies. And the state government should also rethink about, posting commandos in Moreh, and they should divert it to controlling the law and order situation in Imphal, where the insurgent groups are roaming freely,
But
taking
Professor Hauke,
law
tell
into their
me,
hand
tell
and
me this
doing
now.
whatever
ITLS.
they want right now.
I
So
have
that should be
I have a question. I have a
state.
question. There is a 24-hour shutdown that has been called by the tribal groups, right? And they are basically protesting not just what they call or they allege are mighty armed groups, but also the Manipur police. Basically, what they are refusing to answer to the state forces. This is the Kuki groups. How will we move forward like this?
When the state forces are acting, against a certain community instead of controlling the law and order situation, how will this community trust such forces? So they should be, out of any kind of negotiation or any kind of, in
So
the
we
peace
need
direction.
central. So you want central forces in the hill areas, and that is the main. That is the main thing. Now I want to bring
Like,
in Rai.
I would totally agree with Major Ali that the central government forces are not siding with the cookies. They are in the front lines or in the buffer zone, trying to thwart any kind of crossing or
To
any
keep the
attacks
peace,
on both the
to keep the
sides.
peace, to keep the peace for both sides. Now, I
Definitely,
want to,
definitely.
yeah, I want to bring in Rais Bhai right now. What is the situation in your areas in Lilong if the death toll were to rise, as it might, unfortunately, because several have been critically injured? What is your group decided to do? You've said it's not communal. We have a statement from the secessionist group, the RPF, now taking responsibility. Does that change anything?
As of now, the situation is completely under control, I can say. And the concerned authorities, I can say the concerned government is like giving so much of like inputs, and this uh, unfortunate incident. So yeah, I can say under control. So and I don't think there will be a kind of like a communal violence, because since we as a minority community always try our best to be part of this peace building measures, not rather to be like problem creator for our both the communities, which is really unfortunately it is happening. I already told you earlier my interview as well. So in this juncture, yes, why they are doing this mercilessly, we should know, and the government, the concerned authorities should intervene this process, and the victims should get this justice. That is
Yes.
our priority as of now. So
Yes, yes. Let me give the last word to Dr. Ali. You know, Dr. Ali, the statement that is coming from the Kuki groups, they are saying that we have been pleading with the central government since May to replace the mighty state forces with neutral central security forces. Now, what is really worrying in this whole thing is this kind of breakdown. There is a de facto breakdown between the hill areas and the tribal areas. Even for the burials, the Supreme Court had to intervene. There is a breakdown in the security grid, right? You have the tribal group saying, this is to Dr. Ali, if we can bring him up in the box now. The tribal groups are calling for a 24-hour shutdown. Then you have the casualties among civilians in Geelong. What next?
Okay, Barkha, yes, I totally understand the trust deficit of the Kuki groups on the state forces and the Maite groups on the central forces, as you said, if that be the case. So the very fact is, when there's trust deficit, now I cannot come to you, Barkha, and say, Barkha, I am this, I am that, this is my credibility. Please trust me. You got to trust me. You have to trust me. I can't do that. I have to win over your trust slowly and gradually by my actions. When, because actions speak louder than words. So when you actually, if you lose someone's trust, it's very difficult to regain that trust back. And when a person starts trusting, so the very fact is, when that trust deficit is there,
I
the
know, but the
government.
state government, to let's be real, the state, no state government is going to accept an entire people saying we won't respond if you post the state forces here, right?
Okay, right.
Now, I
So see,
understand Professor Haukip's point that there has been a breakdown of trust, but the reality is the Biren Singh government isn't going to withdraw the state forces. I don't see that happening. So, what next? Quickly, last comment.
okay, yes, they will not withdraw the state forces. Now, the very fact is, I'll give an example of the Assam Rifles, where I serve very proudly. We have Maites, we have Kukis, we have Nagas, we have we have people from every community. In fact, we have Apatami tribe from Arunachal, we have Garos, Khasis, Jantiyas, we have everyone. We have the Burmans from Tripura, we have the Chakmas, we have the Mizos, we have every single tribe, and we all coexist together and we fight together shoulder to shoulder as soldiers. We do not see from which community we are from. So now the Assam Rifles is actually a paramilitary force which comes under the Home Ministry, and operationally they are with the Spare Corps. Operationally. So I
Yeah.
think, see, when there is a trust deficit, yes, I agree, it takes time to build up trust, but you have to honor the fact that the people have lost faith, they have lost trust. If I trust it upon them, it will not work. I have to win over the trust. Like the way I'll quickly conclude. I know you have a lot of time. I'll just quickly conclude by saying that, when I was there, we made the locals over there feel that the army, all the Assam Rifles, the forces are here to protect
Okay.
them, not to intimidate them.
Okay.
And we
Okay.
won over the trust by winning hearts and minds, Barkha.
Okay. I was going to close. Professor Haukip, do you have a one liner? Professor Haukip? I can't hear you. I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. I was trying to point out that the Kukis are not demanding total withdrawal of Manipur state forces. They are asking that, especially the various volunteers and civil society organized in Moreh, they are demanding that the Meitei, personnel in the Manipur commandos and Manipur state police should be withdrawn from the hill districts. That's the only demand. There are, neutral communities and others. The Kuki
Mm.
state, personnel would be deployed in Moreh police or Tengnoupal police. So that's the only demand. Let the commandos and other, communities be withdrawn from the Tengnoupal and other districts. which are dominated by them. That's
Okay, we'll leave it there. The impasse continues. I don't see any signs of a breakthrough, but in the end, I think the point is well taken. That it will have to be a central government mediated, whether through their back channels or their front-facing envoys, a kind of resolution that at least brings both warring sides to the dialogue table. I think that is the need of the hour, along with the kind of disarming of weapons from both communities. These are the two things that I would imagine the central government would be keen to work on. I will leave it there. I think we'll say thank you to our panel now. Thank you very much. Can we come out of this, please? Thank you very much to Professor Haukip, to Rais Ahmed Tampak, and to Dr. Major Muhammad Ali Shah. Thank you so much. Take care, and hope the new year gets better for the people of Manipur. Mojo Story has always made a commitment to its viewers to go to where the story is. And as you can see here, we are at the epicenter of the Israel war on Gaza. We are right at the front line, about 1 mile from the Gaza Strip, as the Israeli military gets ready with its tanks and its gunners to begin its final frontal assault that will take troops into Gaza. As we said, we are not like other organizations. We believe in giving you all sides of the story objectively and as much as possible from the ground. And that's exactly what we're doing here, covering the biggest global story today from the epicenter of the war zone. So please, we need your support. Support us, become a Mojo member, subscribe to us, spread the word, and thank you for your support.